Hey friends, welcome to Grace in the Chaos. This is a podcast for families with special needs, and we are super excited today. Dr. Ryan Rush interviews Deborah and Steve Decker. Steve wrote a new children's book, and this children's book is powerful for you to read with your kids if you have special needs or not. There's stories of hope, stories of grace, stories of love. It's an incredible book, and Pastor Ryan does such a good job interviewing and talking about this thing, and it's going to be a resource. You see, with Grace in the Chaos and with Empowered Homes, we want to put resources in your hands so that you can win at home, and this is an incredible resource for every family to get their hands on this book. We'll link everything in this interview at the bottom in the description. We'll link everything that they talk about in the interview, but always, we have some incredible special needs resources on empoweredhomes.org. Enjoy the interview.
What a privilege to be back with some good friends, members of my church here at Kingsland, and I want to introduce you to them. Steve and Deborah Decker are joining me, and Steve has recently written a book, his second book, and it's called The Blanket, A Mother's Special Needs Journey. And I'm so excited to tell you more about this because not only is it a very meaningful, moving book for someone like me who has a child with special needs. I think it's an important book for people to read who don't have a child with special needs so you can better understand maybe what families like ours walk through. But it has an important mission because I'll tell you more about it. They have two sons. And like every special needs family that I know, they're seeking to make an impact on their kiddos long after they're gone. And this is one of the mechanisms, the tools that they're using. So what a blessing it is. So Steve and Deborah, thank you for joining me today. Honored to have you here. And you have on your book S. Charles Decker. So should I call you?
You sound as fifth here. So
S. Charles.
I'm going with my middle name.
There you go. All right. So on here, can I call you Steve?
Absolutely.
All right. For sure. So first of all, just tell us a little bit about your background and your family and your boys.
Okay. We're originally from Oklahoma,
Yeah.
and that's where we met and had two beautiful boys out in Lawton. They ended up being diagnosed with autism early on, about 2 to 3 years old. First Matthew, our oldest, which we were all excited because we thought we had a brother that was going to be able to look after him.
Yeah.
And then not long after, probably about a year or so, Nathan started showing the same symptoms, flapping hands, and his verbal skills went away. And we were faced with having two kids with autism.
Yeah.
And we actually started to accept that. Everything was working great. And then in their early teens, they both developed epilepsy, which we could take the autism. We had all that kind of under control. But when you throw in the health issues and you find one crashed on the floor, not breathing, and you've never seen that before, and you think they've died, and your whole world has just changed.
It's unimaginable. Yeah. The fear and the constancy, and you start wondering, am we going to be able to make it through?
Absolutely.
Are we going to survive? And it's really tough. And yet, so we've talked about that journey quite a bit in the past. In the midst of some real heartache and some uncertainty, there's some incredible joys there, right? I mean, raising a disabled child has some perks, if you will, some real blessings that I get to see with our own Lily, right?
You don't realize it until in the moment you don't realize it.
Yeah.
But you look back and you realize who you were when you started the journey to where you are now, and you're just not the same person.
I think people are starting to realize, maybe we're starting to get a glimpse of the amazing capacity that disabled people have that we don't really understand, but we're starting to recognize that there's some things going on that are beyond our imagination. They're capturing things. They see the world differently than we do, and so I love that. I love that our church gets to be a small part in that. And the Brookwood community is also trying to change the world, change the world's perspective about disabled people. Brookwood community is a very important community to you guys, and because that's where your boys, that's the plan, right? They'll be there for their lives, and it's in west of Houston, west of Katy, Texas, where we are recording today, and where we live. It's making a huge impact on a lot of disabled adults. I'm grateful for that. So, to the book called The Blanket, A Mother's Special Needs Journey. So, you're a poet, Steve?
Apparently.
Yeah, that's right.
I can't seem
Once
to
you
write
write
anything
poems,
that doesn't rhyme. I spent all my years with the kids with autism.
Yeah.
Always enjoyed the Dr. Seuss books. And I cannot tell you how many times I've read Fox and Socks, Green Eggs and Ham, Cat in the Hat and all that. And just, I saw how much they really appreciated the rhymes.
Yeah.
So the first book, when I decided to write a story, I wanted to do one for my sons and then one for my wife, this gal.
Yeah.
And with all this rhyming I've been doing with my sons reading to them, it just kind of came naturally. The first book, I definitely wanted to do rhyme. It was called Zach the Prairie Dog. It was about a autistic prairie dog and a dachshund that represent physical differences.
Yeah.
And they go and save the prairie dog town from a flood and tornado and a vicious pack of dogs.
Yeah.
And so it was a really good book. It did really successful. It was in all the libraries and stuff in Oklahoma and schools in Oklahoma. Then the publisher went out of business. And so I had started the second book for my wife, and it just kind of sat on a laptop for about 12 years.
Right.
Because I was so disappointed with the publisher going out of business in the first book. But I had a dear friend of mine of 40 years die, and it really struck me, and I started thinking, what do I want to be known for?
Sure.
What loose ends do I have?
Yeah.
And I thought, I've had this story just sitting there all this time, so I need to get on it and finish it. So I spent the last year or so finishing the illustrations, reworking the text on it and everything, and finished it up, about 4 months ago or whatever.
Way to go. And I'll tell you this, there's a lesson beyond this book or beyond disabilities for my friends. If you have a dream, do it. just do it. It's never going to have any impact if you don't. And sometimes our fears of getting something out there, and keep us paralyzed. But just do it.
Absolutely.
And so I applaud you for doing that, Steve. There's one other thing I'd say about the rhyming that I think is really helpful for those thinking about the book. It's a really deep topic. I mean, it's intense to think about, especially if you're new to disabilities, you're trying to figure this out. If you just had written this as a story, it gets dark. I mean, how can it not? I mean, you talk about some tough topics that families go through. So to add the rhyme makes it a little lighter. Right. So I think that's a nice balance.
It all started in a really light place. There was a book called Love You Forever. That almost everybody that's a new parent gets. And it tells this wonderful story arc of, you're a young mother, you're a middle-aged mother, you're going through those teenage years with your kid, all the stress with that, and then you're the older mother. And it's just beautiful life arc. And originally I started to try to do the story like that, and then I looked at how hard our life was.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem like I was being genuine to how it is for a special needs parent. And do I want some candy-coated vision of our life presented, or what the reality is?
Yeah.
So I put as much reality in it as possible. Some of the hardest situations that a special needs parent is going to run into.
Right.
And at one point, the story was going to end at a certain point that didn't have the heaven part at the end. It was just going to end with the blanket being placed in the mother's hand. And then I thought, well, that's way too dark. I mean, it was a nice ending, but there was so much more, and this life has to mean so much more than just that. There's got to be more to it.
Yes.
And that's where I came up with the concept of the 2 Corinthians 12, 9 through 10 thread that just goes through it all. All the points where you feel just defeated and you're questioning God, and all these moments. All these are a fabric of your life that are all sewn together to form a beautiful blanket.
Yes.
In the end. So it's more than the blanket for the child. It's the blanket that the mother becomes.
Yeah, I love that. And so when people are hearing us talk about it, they may say, well, I don't want to be depressed. Well, it's dark and it's intense. It's not like something to read to your 3-year-old when they're going to bed because it's a poem. It might be a great book if you have teenagers or tweens. Sit down and read together as a family and talk about what disabled families navigate. And
Right.
I think it would be really helpful for everybody
Absolutely.
to read this book.
And that was part of the intent.
Yeah.
Very good examples of what we want those kids
Sure.
to do for our
Absolutely.
kids, for our family.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would be good.
So I'm glad you spoke up because we're just bantering over here, Deborah. But the reason I'm glad you're here, especially, is y'all had a unique relationship when this happened. I mean, nobody can plan for 2 young children with autism. You're both working at the time, and so you can tell us a little bit about your career and how you guys navigated that next kind of 20 years together.
Well, I was a special agent with the FBI for 25 years. I just retired, back in 2016. But at the time, we made the decision because I had worked crimes against children for so long. There was no way I was here or anything like that. So Steve stepped up and said, I would be glad to stay home with the kids for a while.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I was an industrial engineer, regional supervisor of industrial engineering, and was able to do a leave of absence to care for our kids for a spell with the idea it was going to be a short-term gig.
All right.
Here I am 24 years later.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I'm so thankful that did work out. But the reason I wanted you to share that is because there's one really unique perspective that you placed into this book that, since we live kind of in the disabled community, all of us have seen far too often, and that is the plight of a single parent
Right.
navigating a disabled child. And I don't know what the statistics are exactly. I've seen some and they feel inflated. It's hard to get a gauge on the exact number, but we know anecdotally there are a disproportionate number of individuals raising a disabled child alone. Haven't we seen that?
Absolutely.
So I'm curious how that played into your motivation to write the book about a single mom.
Oh, that was part of it. I mean, you look at the devastation that created for the mother, and like you said, it's such a reflection of what a lot of parents face.
Yeah.
And to just sugarcoat that and not address that, I felt like was a disservice to the community.
Yeah.
It's probably 60, maybe as much as 70% of families with severe disabilities that face that kind of situation.
Yeah.
Just one or the other parent just cannot handle all of the stress, the devotion it takes to that child. So yeah, it was definitely a consideration to put that in there.
And he chose to write it as a single mom, but we personally know some amazing dads that have stepped up and been single dads too.
Yep. Same. So we're grateful for them. They're heroic. I mean, we know what it takes with Team Lily. So with Lana and me both on board doing these things. So I can't imagine. And yet we know some who fight through. It's also a message to anybody who's a part of a church where you have a single parent who's navigating this alone. Come around that person. Make sure that you're going, avert in your support, because you can't even imagine how difficult it is and how constant it is what they're facing. So,
and that's an important thing for this book, for people to see and feel in their heart how difficult that is, and what those parents go through, so they can maybe be a little bit more empathetic and volunteer their time to help out.
So good. Yes. Speaking of empathy, I think one of the great benefits of this book for families to read would be allowing their kiddos to see, Deborah, you touched on this, the ways that they can play a role in a kid's life or a grown-up's life later on, by just caring, being there.
Right.
My wife used to say, before we had Lily with our other girls, when we talked about what we wanted them to remember forever when they were growing, she said, when I was a school teacher, you always had that one or two kids that just didn't quite fit. She wasn't even talking disabilities necessarily, but the kid who sat alone at the lunch room, and she said, I want to raise our girls to be the ones who go across the room.
Right.
They're the ones who say, I'm going to be a friend of that. Nobody's going to sit alone at the lunchroom. Right. And by the grace of God, before Lily, our girls carried that forward. They had that heart of compassion and still do, to look for that person. And of course, now we're raising one, it's just different. Right. And so I'm not sure that we can overstate the power of a kid who understands that they can have a simple role by caring, by looking, by listening. And that definitely came out in the book.
The actual 3 kids that are touched by the mother's school speech are based on 3 kids that were in our kids' lives.
Really?
3 kids that went out of their way to chase our kids around the playground to play with them and include them, and they were instrumental in inspiring this book.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I did not know that.
Yeah. Those are 3 actual kids.
What a huge blessing. And so, again, it's so hard. I don't want to give away the book necessarily, but these kids end up reappearing later on, either as older students or grown-ups. Right. And I think that's a reminder that if we put our kids into places of success in this area as children, to say, hey, let's celebrate those moments where you're loving somebody who seems unlovable, at times, then those things come back later. Right. Our kids will duplicate what we celebrate. And we have to remember that as parents. Moms, dads, if you have young kids at home, celebrate those moments. Notice it, because those will drive home places in their hearts that can not only change their lives forever, but you'll never know till we get to heaven, maybe, the impact that your kid had by walking across the room.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. I hope that's true. And I can think of images of kids and grown-ups in our daughter's life that have made a huge difference and didn't even realize what they were doing, I think, at the time. So let's talk about Matthew and Nathan now. Tell me about their lives in present day.
You want to take that?
Yeah.
Well,
they're pretty much the same.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, they're pretty much the same kids they were when they were little.
Yeah.
They're in bigger bodies now, and they're home with us, and we want to keep them there with us as long as we can, but we have to have a plan for them, and that plan is Brookwood.
Yeah.
But Matthew's 23 now, Nathan's 22. They're the happiest boys in the world. They love coming to church here, that's for sure. But they are at home with us. There's they're pretty profoundly autistic, and throw in the seizures popping up whenever they do. It's kind of hard to do things with them, but we love them. They're the lights of our lives, and you can't be around Matthew and not be happy, because he's just hilarious, for one thing.
Yeah.
He wakes up with a smile on his face, goes to bed with a smile on his face. He's got life figured out.
Yeah.
If there is reincarnation, I want to come back as Matthew, because
I'm glad there's not reincarnation, but
every day
that's
he wakes
true.
up is Christmas.
Yeah, for sure.
He plays he does things he likes and enjoys all day long, which mostly involves computers, and we feed him, we give him snacks, and he's happy.
So great. It reminds me of a song that came out a couple of years ago. I mentioned before we came on that Ben Rector wrote. So he doesn't have a disabled child as far as I know, but he's just talking about how kids kind of wrecked what they thought life was going to be, as they always do. And he wrote these lyrics. You wrecked my world in a beautiful way, and I kind of thought I'd always stay the same. But I heard that healthy things grow and growing things change. And yeah, you wrecked my world in the most beautiful way. And I think that we can agree that's what our kids have done. Like none of us thought this is how life could go, but there's some sweetness to it. It's unique.
There's an illustration at the beginning of the book that has a tree and a mother. The mother is the tree, and she's holding the ropes of a swing of a child. One of the ropes, she's got the rope around her wrist, and that is like that song. That's how everyone feels. You wreck your life.
Yeah.
That's what you feel about your child. The other hand is outstretched and holding the rope at the very end, just trying to grasp it with a fully stretched arm. And that represents a special needs parent.
Yeah.
How much more difficult this life is. You've got that same "you wreck my life," but life is trying to wreck you.
Yeah.
And that picture is just supposed to illustrate all the struggles and challenges. The rock in the bottom is the rock of faith, and there's a scissor tail that's holding that little last string that she's holding grasped. That's just this spirit that just, when you think you got to the end of your rope, there's that little thing that helps you hold on.
Yeah.
And
that's powerful. Yeah.
That's what that.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Steve, because we mentioned the poetry and we mentioned the content, but there's some beautiful illustrations in here as well. So you could just go through after you read it and just understand the weight of these photos or these pictures, and that's worth the book as well. So let's jump off in the deep end for just a second. We had the lighter side of "You Wrecked My World in the Most Beautiful Way," but the reality for every special needs family, I think, that's in the back of our minds that I don't know that anybody can understand until you've been in that place is you're asking the question, what's going to happen with my child when I'm gone?
Right.
Because they're in some ways going to need care forever. So what do we do? So other than, we just, Len and I have made an agreement that we're not going to die.
Hey,
right? Yeah, sweet. We've put it in writing. We don't get to do that. So you talk about that weight and end it in a beautiful way. And again, it's impossible to not give a little bit away in here, but the mom ends up passing away, and you have some good news toward the end that I won't give away, but there's this meaningful moment with her and her son right at the end. And I wondered whether I could talk you into reading those few pages 58 through 60, I think.
Her son at her bedside, with blanket in hand, beside her, their portrait upon the nightstand. A light snow was falling that cold winter night when doctors decided the end was in sight. She gazed at her son, wiped a tear from his face. Before her she saw the true essence of grace, a heavenly angel who came from above, whose presence had shaped unconditional love. For now in her heart, far more deep than an ocean, was selflessness, patience, compassion, devotion. Though he could not play baseball and didn't seem smart, their journey had sculpted a true work of art.
A true work of art. Thank you, Steve. I can't think of anything to say after that. Thank you.
Thank you.
At the end of the day, with the complexity of what we walk through, it's very difficult to convey to someone. You did an incredible job through a book of poetry in sharing that with the world, and I appreciate it. If someone wanted to get a copy of The Blanket, how would they do so?
Just on Amazon.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Amazon.com. Go get The Blanket, A Mother's Special Needs Journey by S. Charles Decker. And 100% of the proceeds of this book go toward the care of Matthew and Nathan.
Absolutely.
After you're gone.
Goes to their Brookwood Fund.
I love that. Yeah, for sure. Steve and Deborah Decker, grateful for your friendship and for this time together. Thank you for sharing this book with the world. Grateful for you.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Appreciate it.